Welcome to the Hembury Books Podcast. I'm the host, Jessica Muddett, and I'm the founder and publisher at Hembury Books. Today we have Gabriella Pomare, who is the author of a new book, The Collaborative Coparent. Gabriella Pomare is a partner at Norton Law Group and the author of her new book. She frequently appears at the Federal Circuit Court of Australia and Family Court of Australia in complex family law disputes. Gabriella is also experienced in family law matters that cross international jurisdictions. She was a finalist in the Lawyers Weekly 30 Under 30 in 2018. She was a rising star in the Australian Law Awards in 2019 and Family Law Partner of the Year in 22, 23 and 24, which is very impressive, Gabriella. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Jessica.
First of all, I should say that we know one another because you were my divorce lawyer 5 years ago.
Yes, I knew it had been that long.
Yeah, it's amazing. And when I think back to that time, it was very bleak, very grim. I had a 1-year-old and a 3-month-old, and you're kind of staring at the future, really having no idea what it brings. But having the parenting plan in place has been the most valuable thing. We have not deviated from it. And it's set our kids up, I think, to be unaffected by the negatives and for it not to become toxic. And when I hear of other, friends that have been divorced and they have nothing in place, it can just lead to so much more conflict and an awful time for the kids.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
So what motivated you to write your book?
I think my book, The Collaborative Co-Parent, really was born from my own experience of a separation. I also separated when I had just a 1-year-old. So, as a family lawyer, I'd supported so many clients through separation, but nothing really prepared me for navigating co-parenting, from the inside. My work as a family lawyer was a major inspiration for writing the book. I definitely had, a front row seat to the emotional challenges, the legal challenges that families face during separation. And I think I've witnessed so many parents who love their children so much, but they struggle to communicate or to cooperate effectively with each other. And most clients, they don't want a combative legal process. They want clarity, they want support, they want a way forward. So that's when I realized there's a real gap in resources that address maybe not only the legal, but really the human side of co-parenting as we know. So I just wanted to write something that offered practical guidance and that encouraged empathy and collaboration. So yeah, I think the book was born from a desire to empower separated parents and give them tools and practical advice to help reduce that conflict and get them working together as a team.
That's amazing. Can we see the book?
You can see the book.
And your release date?
The official release date, I think it's September 2025, so it's now on pre-order.
Fantastic.
Yeah, very exciting.
So you've divided up into different themes and topics, have you?
I have. So it sort of starts at the beginning. It's a pathway. I've just separated, now what? And I really went back to my own experience. So I think I even started with you lying in bed, you've just separated, on your own in this bed. What do I do? How do I tell my kids? Who do I need to tell what's happening? School providers, and works its way all the way through to the blended family, new family, stepchildren, step parents, and then the last little bit gives a little bit of advice as to what resources or tools from a legal perspective are available, but without me giving that legal advice.
Sure. Okay. As a family lawyer, you witness and facilitate separations every day. Did you write this book because you were seeing a lot of people exhibit damaging behaviour, that it was affecting their children?
Absolutely. I mean, as a family lawyer, I've seen how the most well-meaning parents just fall into patterns of conflict, miscommunication. There's a lot of resentment during separation, and they often don't realise, the emotional toll that it takes on their children. So I think I wrote the book because I saw so many harmful dynamics playing out over and over, and children being caught in the middle. And I think parents unintentionally use their children as, messengers and emotional buttons. And I do really go into that in the book. So I wanted to provide these parents with a different path, and one that focuses on cooperation, with emotional awareness, long-term thinking. So when you read my book, I do hope that co-parents learn to shift their mindset, no longer fighting, but collaborating. Because I genuinely believe that when parents can show up as a united front, even from separated homes, kids feel safer, they feel loved, and become really resilient.
Yeah. It's funny. There's an appreciation, like I have an appreciation for my ex-husband who is reliable and punctual. And I just don't
see that too often, do you?
No, no. And it has to be like, I kind of approach it as a business partnership, and the girls are our assets and we need to protect them, for the long term,
Right.
which might be a bit cold.
Yeah, no, but that is the way you need to approach it. I always say it's a business partnership. You're no longer romantic partners, but you're linked for life, and you may not like each other very much, right? I get it, but just do it for the sake of the kids and in front of them, because they will be so much, better off in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you are the daughter of a family lawyer. You're also a family lawyer and a separated mother of a young son. Did you feel as that, your voice could be unique as the author of this book because you have so much experience, professional and firsthand?
Growing up as the daughter of a family lawyer, I think I did see from a young age how separation affects families. And I didn't really understand it when I was younger, legally in that sense, but emotionally and psychologically. I think becoming a family lawyer myself then gave me this professional lens and really a deep insight into the patterns and the heartbreak that so many families face. But I think it really was my own experience as a separated mother of quite a young son at that time that brought everything full circle, because when I'm at work, I'm advising and I'm speaking at parents, I suppose, but then I became one of them. So I understood, those tough decisions, those sleepless nights, and all I wanted to do was protect my son above everyone else. So I think you're right. That blend of personal and professional experience, that's what allowed me to write the book. And yeah, it's been quite an experience.
Was something that fellow single parents advised me was to try to stay out of the family court, because they're like, if you go down that road, can be a 5-year road. Neither of you may be the winners. In the meantime, your children are getting older, and just the stress and the cost and all of that. Is the collaborative co-parent partly written to try to keep people out of court?
I think it's practical advice. Now, I'd be doing myself out of a job if I said no, I'd go to court. There is a place for court for certain families. There is no doubt about that. I've got high-risk families, family violence, abduction, those sorts of things. But if you truly think there's a way forward and you can collaborate with your partner, the book is for you. I actually listened to a good podcast a couple of days ago where a couple was saying how through their divorce lawyers, they became more high conflict. They almost grew to hate each other because the lawyers were advocating for their client without actually looking full circle at how am I helping this family. So the book is how can I help a family to move forward and stay as a family, albeit a separated family. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what is a collaborative co-parent? What does that look like?
It's a good question. I think a collaborative co-parent is someone who takes the responsibility to work with that other parent. So yes, business-like relationship, proactively making decisions in their child's best interest. So keeping communication, less high conflict, coming up with a structured plan to keep children away from what's going on at home, not putting them in the middle of that divorce or separation, because every child's experience of divorce and separation is what shapes them into the future. And, it'll have a long-lasting impact on them as they become teenagers, adults, and form their own relationships. So the best thing you can do as a collaborative co-parent is put your children first in every decision you make. How's this going to impact my kid?
And I remember from my law degree, the best interest of the child is the founding principle, right, that you always come back to in family law.
That's it. So I spoke to a lady this morning and she said something about my rights. And I said, a judge once taught me this. Mum has no rights. Dad has no rights. It's the child who has the rights. And we do what's in their best interest always.
Yeah, which is how it has to be.
Yeah.
Now, you said 2 years writing and it was challenging. Can you tell us about the writing process? And also, this is a very personal and very fraught area. This is not an easy topic.
It was difficult. I think it was probably one of the most emotional and cathartic experiences of my life, because I guess, Jess, I wasn't just sharing my professional knowledge. I had to open up a very deeply personal chapter that not everyone knew about at the time. So there were moments when it felt incredibly vulnerable. I had to, revisit my own emotion of my separation and those very early days of how do I co-parent with grace and patience. And we don't have that at the start. And I'm certainly not saying I'm perfect. And my own separation certainly wasn't perfect at the start. It took time to be able to co-parent in a healthier way. So I think that writing process then was almost healing, because it gave me space to process and to reflect on, what had worked, what hadn't worked, what I wish I had known earlier. Because you always say, if I had known that back then, we could have had a much better relationship much sooner. So when I was writing, I would often think about, the parents sitting in my office and they're always so overwhelmed and unsure. They don't know what to do or how to move forward. So I thought this book needs to be that resource for them. Although separation is painful, the book will offer that hope. And I hope that it does redefine co-parenting. So people stop thinking, of separation or divorce as a failure, but more maybe as an opportunity to build something positive for your children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fully believe it can be so much better than staying in a relationship that should have ended. Better for the children.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be something really positive. But where did you find the time to write? Because you're a partner at a law firm and you go to court all the time. So was it like early mornings or late nights, weekend?
The weekends I didn't have Teddy mainly. We have a little space in the Kangaroo Valley, which is beautiful, greenery, no distraction. So I said, I need to just sit down and focus and start just letting everything out, writing, thinking about it. So that's probably why it took me a little bit longer. And then I also had a baby at the end of last year. So that was a little bit of a hold up.
Little bit.
Little bit. But we got there in the end and pre-order now.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. And you were saying you did journalism law. So the writing comes naturally and you enjoyed that?
Yeah, I did. And I worked at some magazines when I was at uni as well. So I've always had that passion for the written word, I guess, or that creativity of being able to put your thoughts to paper and giving that out to people.
You speak in your book about the importance of co-parents focusing their relationship on caring for their children. Would you give different advice to co-parents depending on the age of their children?
Look, the core principles of co-parenting remain the same. You need to put your children's needs first. You need to maintain respectful communication, create stability. I think it's the way those principles apply that needs to shift depending on a child's age and their stage of development. I guess, for example, with young children, consistency, routine, incredibly important. Co-parents need to focus on minimizing disruption and ensuring secure attachment with both parents. And then you've got school-age children and there's more emotional openness. They need clear explanations about what's happening. They're starting to process a bit more deeper. They internalize that separation. Teenagers, and they want autonomy. So it's about keeping them in the loop and respecting their voice, but not putting them in the middle. I see still too many separated parents almost befriending their teenage children, siding with them. Dad's done this or mum's doing this or the other parent won't pay for something. It's not healthy. That dynamic isn't great. So I think, emotional safety of the child, foundation. It's just how you meet and need that will evolve as children.
Yeah. Okay. You validate the naturalness in your book of a co-parent wondering about their child's other life at the other parent's home. How can co-parents learn to navigate this, to be aware of it and to live with the uncertainty of not being part of it and the desire to want to have the same rules in both houses? What's your advice there?
A really good question. And it's one of probably the most emotionally complex parts of co-parenting. You need to accept that your child now has, a whole part of their life unfolding beyond your view. You don't know what's going on. And look, I think it's completely natural to wonder what their routines are like, how they're being cared for in that home, what kind of emotional tone exists in your ex-partner's home. And I think that curiosity comes from love, but I can say even from my own experience, it triggers anxiety and fear. I mean, you don't know what's happening. So I do speak about it in the book. I think I talk about the importance of holding on to that tension and being aware of your child's other life, but not trying to control it. So you need to take time, develop trust. You need to hope and believe that your child's building resilience and they're adapting from what you're teaching them at home. And I think we just need to accept as parents that we don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Just focus on open communication, transparency, and trying to share some of the values in both homes. And even if you express those values differently, by at least having some shared ones at home, you're building that emotional safety and you're having that stability for your child.
It's challenging though. It's one of those things, easier said than done.
I think you're entirely right. You're always going to know what's going on. Like Wednesday nights when my son goes to his dad's, and there'll come a time at night where I'm saying, oh, what's happening now? Has he had the dinner? Is he in bed? Is he happy? Have they done a book? Like you wonder. And that's
yeah, it's normal. It's normal. It's parental love. It never stops.
That's it.
So what are your goals for your book, Gabriella?
I guess the primary goal is to help separated parents shift their thinking from conflict to connection and cooperation, and no longer in the romantic sense. But I think I want parents to build a shared commitment to raising healthy and secure and emotionally resilient children. I think I really want this book to be a practical but a compassionate guide. This is one of the most difficult transitions in life for parents because realistically, every choice you make, every word you speak about your co-parent, every effort you make to cooperate, even when it's hard, that's the gift to your child. So as hard as it is, you're gifting them security and stability into their future. So I guess when a parent finishes reading my book, even if it's only one parent and they feel a little bit more confident or less alone or more focused on what truly matters, then I set out what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such a nice way of putting it, that it's a gift to your children. Yeah. What's been the most challenging aspect of publishing a book?
I think, look, the time it takes, definitely. But for me, maybe it was putting something very personal out into the world because it is a mix of professional and personal life. And, as a lawyer, I'm used to staying very measured and objective.
Yeah.
But when I wrote this book, I had to become quite vulnerable and share not only those professional insights, but my lived experience. And honesty can be confronting, as you probably know. And maybe that's where the power of the book lies, and showing readers that they're not alone. There is heartbreak, there's uncertainty, there's worry, but it is possible, I still believe, to create a co-parenting dynamic that is respectful and grounded. And you can only hope to get there over time.
Yeah. It's a long journey.
It is.
So, final question for you. If you had one piece of advice for a parent who's currently going through a separation, what would it be?
One piece of advice. I think it would be take a breath and lead with intention, not emotion. Emotion is the biggest breakdown, I think, of a healthy co-parenting relationship. Separation is messy. It's painful. I mean, it's overwhelming, right? It's about showing up in the moment that will shape your child's, sense of safety, love, stability. So you don't have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't think any co-parent is perfect. Just show up in the moment, heal, and remember that every choice you make and every word you speak about your co-parent, that's what you're gifting your child, as I said below. So focus on building a future for your children where they feel secure and loved in both homes.
Yeah. Okay. That's amazing advice. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and all the best with your book. I'm sure we'll be saying this is, maybe I've got your first Australian interview, have I? But there's
yeah, you have on the book. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Gabriella.
Thank you.